The highlight of the night was simply just the sheer number of deer in the field. At one time, I counted 50-some deer, and that was just off to my left. I wasn't even counting those in front of me and to the right. A lot of areas in the West are capable of producing 140 and 150 class bucks. Plus, you've got a benefit here. You've got a lot going for you because you can see. You can see the deer in open country, you can watch them, you can study them, and you can spot and stalk and ambush them. I better make a move right now, or I'm gonna miss him.
Winchester's Whitetail Revolution is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Otis Technology, the most advanced gun care system in the world. Code Blue, perfecting the science of hunting. Winchester Rifles and Shotguns, the guns that work. Bushnell Optics, magnify life. Welcome once more to Winchester Whitetail Revolution. This is the heart of Wyoming mule deer country, but luckily for host Mark Kayser and his brother-in-law Jerry Murphy, it's also prime whitetail territory.
You can see everything from up here.
Yeah, right down here in this horseshoe area, there's been some good whitetail bucks coming out there this summer. And the night before the season opened, there was 2 of the real good whitetails out there.
That's not even alfalfa. It's just pasture.
It's just pasture.
Huh.
There's something right here on this side that them bucks really like. They feed on that all the time.
You know where the whitetails are gonna be?
Yeah,
They're gonna be right there.
There's just one place down there in the creek bottom, unless they happen to get too much pressure and get pushed out of there. But so I just wanted to bring you up here and kind of show you the layout of the place and where I've been seeing those bucks.
Yeah, it'll help me now so I know when they go in and out of the timber where they're going.
Yep.
On the west side of the Bighorn Mountains lies the old west town of Graybull, Wyoming. Its name comes from the Graybull River, which was named for a white buffalo once seen on its banks. Graybull offers access to excellent big game hunting, including our beloved whitetail.
These little strips and ribbons of timber along the rivers and creeks from central Wyoming, especially to the east, have got some super whitetail hunting. Good densities, and they're in very confined areas.
Our basic strategy is to get up high on a ridge, do a lot of glassing, and then move in closer, get a better look at the deer. If it's a buck we like, then we'll set up on him.
When I was a young guy back in high school, Jerry, my brother-in-law, he was always somebody that I kind of looked up to as the premium, the good hunter in the community. And I always thought, man, wouldn't it be cool to go hunting with them? And to hunt with someone with experience like that, like Jerry, and he's not only just a good hunter, he's a real solid marksman. And it's been a while since I got to go hunting with him, so getting together with him this fall was really a treat.
There's deer in that alfalfa.
Yeah.
That one looks like it might be a buck in there.
Yeah, that one's a buck. I can't tell for sure how good he is.
We should try and get a little closer. Is there a way to get around this?
sneak over here and see if we can get a better look at that.
Okay.
There they are. They're still on the edge of the field. Moving right across, right just about back by the tree line there. He looks like a 4x4, but he's got good brow tines, but his rest of his points are fairly short.
Oh, he's going somewhere in a hurry. He's
Yeah,
clopping along there.
I think he just wants to get out on that field with the rest of the deer.
What do you think?
I think we should wait on him. I know there's better bucks around. It's just a matter of finding them.
It's early. We still got time. I don't
Yeah,
wanna, I mean,
yeah.
that's a mature deer. I just...
If it was the last day of the hunt or something, we might think about shooting him, but I'd like to harvest a little more mature deer than that, something with better tine length. So I'd say we keep looking.
Should back out of here and check another field.
Yeah.
It's a good buck on the edge of being a mature buck, but at that point in the hunt, he just wasn't a shooter yet.
Now listen up for some expert whitetail advice as Mike Hanbeck gives the lowdown on a record book bow hunt on today's Buck of a Lifetime.
Nebraska bow hunter John Eagle climbed to a stand in a wooded draw between two fields. He found 3 great big sheds there last spring. Seen a big velvet buck too. Man, was he fired up. Grunted a few times, then bleated on a can call. Soon he spotted a huge buck. The giant stopped at 40 yards, made a scrape, and urinated in it. John grunted again. The buck looked up and came running. John locked his 30-yard pin on the deer and let fly. The arrow was true and the buck didn't go far. John knew he was big, but man, what a monster. 19-pointer gross 221 and then 212 and change. Number 3 archery buck all time in Nebraska. 2 key factors here. 1, hunt where you find big sheds because they're from a big buck. Chances are he lives close by. And it never hurts to grunt and call a few times on stand. You never know, you might bring in the buck of a lifetime just like John did. For more great big buck tips, log on to versuscountry.com.
I'm getting a little nervous because there are deer everywhere.
Stay tuned for more Winchester Whitetail Revolution. Few topics generate more controversy and apprehension than chronic wasting disease. Still little understood, this condition infects the brains of deer, and while it remains unclear if it can be transmitted to humans, the debate goes on.
I'm not a biologist, so I can't really speak to exactly about chronic wasting, how bad it is, what a threat it is, how big it's going to be, what it's going to do to elk and deer populations. But I can say this, it's been around for decades, and the biggest problem is it's spreading eastward.
I know chronic wasting disease is a very, very crucial thing we need to look into, but man, there are so many other things out there affecting our deer herds that have a greater impact on them than this one disease.
What does worry me is it could be a latent thing that's going to rear its ugly head at some point. Nobody knows. It's hard to sit here and say, it's not a problem or how serious it's going to be.
Have you ever heard of EHD, epizootic hemorrhagic disease? That takes a huge toll on whitetail numbers every year. You ever hear anybody talk about that? No, it can knock a herd down by 20, 30, even up to 50% or more in a single year.
I know it's spread east, the testing's better than ever, and what does concern me is with whitetail populations booming in many areas, Midwest, along the East Coast, in the suburbs, if these type of diseases, CWD, whatever, get into these populations where we're not hunting them in areas where we can on big estates, in places where hunting's not allowed in the suburbs, we could have a really big disease factor on our hands.
They discovered this disease over 30 years ago and thought it might be something terrible. So they were keeping their eye on it. They've been trying to stay on it hard and making sure it doesn't become something terrible.
So Mark, I think CWD really is possibly could be a lot bigger problem you think it is. Who knows? Time will tell.
But in this whole process, they've been scaring the daylights out of everyone. And that's something we don't need in this day and age of fragile hunter relationships.
This is a question that affects all hunters, so tell us what you think by logging on to www.versuscountry.com.
You know, getting into an area that has a good density and population of whitetails, especially of good bucks, good quality bucks, that's one thing, and that's what we all look forward to as hunters. But there's always that aesthetic value that I like to look for. And when you're hunting in a valley that's surrounded by some of the most spectacular mountains in the United States, what more could you ask for a whitetail hunt? Good deer, good densities, and a backdrop that John Wayne would kill for in any movie. In fact, I think he did in a couple of them. Filmed them with these type of backdrops right here in Wyoming. That's what a good whitetail hunt's all about.
We set up one evening on the other end of the ranch, got up on a haystack, which is a good place to observe.
The highlight of the night was simply just the sheer number of deer in the field. At one time, I counted 50-some mule deer, and that was just off to my left. I wasn't even counting those in front of me and to the right. And whitetails were the same. There wasn't quite as many whitetails. There had to be close to 30 or 40 out in front of us.
I'm getting a little nervous because there are deer everywhere.
If there was one thing that was kind of bringing me down a bit, it was the fact that we weren't seeing those mature bucks. I was keeping my fingers crossed because of all the deer sightings. And it wasn't hard hunting. We were always into deer, so my enthusiasm was keeping at a good high.
That's a nice buck. But it's just a little too early in the hunt to be thinking about shooting him. He's got really good brows. He's just a little weak on his points. It's just really good to see, though, that with the moon almost full, we're still getting activity right at the end of shooting light. So there's a good chance we'll get a mature buck out here. There's deer everywhere. I know there's some mature bucks in here.
Okay, Mark, we're just gonna leave the rhino sit here and we'll sneak up the bank and check out the rest of the creek bed up on the upper end up here.
Midpoint of the hunt, we moved to a different alfalfa field. Jerry hadn't seen any monster bucks there, but he had seen some good whitetail bucks and tons, I mean just tons of deer. So we set up there for the night, and right at dark, we got our chance. A buck come out of the timber nearly 3/4 of a mile away, started zigzagging toward us. Jerry said, you know, those deer like to come to this gate right here and cross into the alfalfa. He said, I have a feeling that buck is gonna do just that. That's exactly what he did. Jerry called it right on. Of course, he'd been watching the deer. He knew what was happening with them. I set up, got ready for the shot as the buck came, and as he got closer and closer, we got more time and a better look at him to see if he's a shooter. When he crossed within 100 yards of us, we both decided right then and there, that buck probably wasn't a shooter again. This buck was mature. He would be a good buck the last day to take out of there as a cull buck, but it wasn't the last day and I wasn't ready to pull the trigger on a cull quite yet.
So the hunt continues when Winchester Whitetail Revolution returns. Winchester's Whitetail Revolution is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Otis Technology, the most advanced gun care system in the world. Code Blue, perfecting the science of hunting. Winchester Rifles and Shotguns, the guns that work. Bushnell Optics, magnify life. There's perhaps no finer looking whitetail country than where host Mark Kayser and guide and brother-in-law Jerry Murphy find themselves today. They're in the lush fields and along the clear creeks beneath the snowy crests of Wyoming's Bighorn Mountains.
Since the hunt is on the latter end of it, we're past the first few days, we decided to start switching up strategies. We looked and we found the likely hideouts where we figured this would be the best place to set up an ambush. Boy, this looks like the spot, huh?
Yeah, it should be a pretty good setup. You can watch this field here and the other one back behind here. We'll just get you up here on the bale. I'll have to give you a boost up there probably, but...
Make sure you're strong enough?
Yeah, I think we can get her done.
If you're going to go on a western whitetail hunt, always try to find some elevation, just like your tree stands back in the Midwest or East.
Oh man, all those deer are coming out in that other field. I got nothing on this field. I better make a move right now, or I'm gonna miss them.
He had to make a move on the deer because they didn't come in there close enough. They came in the other end of a different field.
Man, there's no bucks out there yet, but if I'm gonna get a shot at anything going on, I gotta get over to that field.
But once I'd made that move, I felt good. And as the light dipped, things began to happen, and they were happening fast. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a good whitetail buck. And he wasn't just walking out in the field, sneaking out into the field, pitter-pattering out in the field. He was hauling. He was running out onto the field. I guess he was trying to catch up to all the other deer that were already out there, mule deer and whitetail. Putting that buck down cleanly and quickly was, man, that was a highlight. But then something amazing happened. The deer didn't take off. They didn't know what happened. They didn't know if it was a clap of thunder or what. And the does started moseying back to look at this buck to see, hey buddy, what's up? Why are you down? Get up.
And there he is, right there. God, look at that. What a good buck. Oh, and look at the character. It's a good Wyoming whitetail right there. Good brows. Look at the extra kickers here. He's got a sticker on his G2 up here. Look at this. Notched out ear. Nice mature buck. He's dark horned. Look at how these main beams scoop up. What really tops this whole hunt off, this is in my backyard. Right there's what tops it off. Can you picture a more beautiful setting to hunt whitetails in than the mountains of the West, right here in Wyoming?
That is as gorgeous as it gets.
The West is the best for me. I just love that open country feel. I mean, you really can't beat the scenery in the West. You can't beat the sunsets, you can't beat the mountains, you can't beat the Badlands. And the whitetail hunting is spectacular if you do your research. Got him, man.
Did you?
What a hunt.
Did he come out right here where I thought he would?
He come out just this side of the corner, but he didn't just come out, they charged out.
And that's how it goes on Winchester Whitetail Revolution.
All whitetail. All the time. Online at versus.com/whitetail.